All right, SML, what's going on? We've got 2 minute drill back, and me and Dom are going to break down these teams, especially right after the draft. What's going on, Dom?
Hey, how's it going? Looking forward to this. Give everyone some spotlight. A little more difficult this time with the neon reset, but
Yeah, that
hopefully
kind
it
of
makes for good content.
kind of threw us for a loop, but I think we got it pretty much under control. And let's start in we'll start in the AFC. I'll open it up with the AFC East, and we'll start with the Bills. And Fig actually just today made another move that I didn't even get to add to my notes, but he picked up Najee Harris for James Cook. We'll see how that works out. He's also added Dak Prescott, which I mean we've seen the QB injuries, so that may not be a bad pickup, even though it was the computer added him $1 million and you get a superstar quarterback. Not a bad deal. He finally got his speed guy in Quez Watkins, and then he made a weird signing with Chandler Jones. I know he's got the edge threat still, but I think he's just too low rated to actually make a difference. He still needs receivers. I think Quez is going to be suspended this week. But his key rookies, he picked up two really good rookies. One is his middle linebacker. This guy's got 88 speed, 81 change of direction, so you should be able to do something with him. And then the guy that I wanted, or had been considering, I didn't think he was going to make it to me, but McMillan, the cornerback, 22 years old, 77 overall, got all the ratings you want. Other than he's not superstar or X factor, but outside of that, the guy's going to be a stud. It helps him out with Teron Johnson becoming a free agent, and we'll see if any of that kind of translates to success on the field. Because right now, Fig's sitting at 0-1.
Yeah, it was a tough 0-1. He definitely has some comments in the chat, but good offseason overall. And it's unfortunate he can't trade Dak Prescott, but like you said, having a good backup quarterback
Yeah, we've seen a
for
lot of
basically
injuries,
nothing might
so
might come in handy.
yep. All right, so what team do you got?
Yeah, I'll stick to the AFC and I'll start in the AFC West.
All right.
So I'll start with the Broncos. Not too much to talk about for Rowan, but he got his quarterback with the sixth pick. He took Zachary Novak, and he doesn't have any development trait. He's just normal, but he is only 21. He's already 76 overall, and he has 94 throw power to build off of. Um, One of the better quarterbacks in the draft after you look at the ratings, in my opinion. And I think the struggles year one may pan out if he's able to develop them. It's got to be his primary focus this year. He's already started 0-2, so some growing pains for sure. But if the quarterback looks okay, the record won't matter.
Yeah, the 0-2 start probably not what he was looking for, especially in that AFC West. It's going to be a bit of a dogfight. You got Clink and QP at the top, and then Gutta looks decent. So uh, we'll see if he can kind of turn it around there. All right, my next team is going to be the Jets and KJ, and I think the biggest move for KJ in the offseason was the fact that Aaron Rodgers didn't retire. Um, that's a huge thing for the Jets. AJ can have at least one more season of a good quarterback, and it gives him a little time to develop his first round pick. Quarterback's name of Bacon, 21 years old. He's 72 overall. Nothing special as far as his dev, but he gets to sit behind Rodgers for a year and just kind of build up the focus points. He can do the mini games with him. Maybe he gets a dev bump in there. But then when Aaron Rodgers finally retires, he's got a guy that's not going to have the kind of rookie yips that we see with some of these rookie quarterbacks. He's going to have a full season of developing, and he'll still only be 22. And then he got Quinnen Williams to X Factor. He's got 4 second-round picks in this upcoming draft. So even when Rodgers retires, he's still got a lot to build there. His downside is going to be that he kind of is going to be picking a little later in the first round, though, because he swapped first-round picks with me when he moved up to number 10 in this last draft to get his quarterback. But he also got a rookie tight end with a great last name, Blizzard, and he's a superstar. I think he's 85 speed, so gives Aaron Rodgers and that rookie quarterback another weapon. And I think it was actually, all in all, a pretty good offseason for KJ and the Jets.
Yeah, normally I would hate trading a future first if you're KJ, but it was the quarterback heavy draft this year. And this upcoming year, it doesn't look to be the case. So he was able to get his quarterback of the future 1 year early before Rodgers retired. Like you said, an extra year of dev and the superstar tight end definitely helps.
Yeah, and he didn't just swap picks. He also picked up the Bears first this season
Hmm.
now, and then he got a second as well. So, uh, he got his quarterback. So I think that's going to be the big thing. All right, next team for you.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to the Chargers. QP. A few good picks here. His first two picks were both pretty solid. You got a defensive end, Pat Brackett, who's going to start at 75 overall. No development, which isn't what you're looking for, but pretty good starting point up front on the defense. And he also helped the secondary. He got a corner, Jarius Fuller, in the middle of the second round. 75 overall already, 21 years old, and he's star development. I would expect him to be a stud in a couple of years under QP's tutelage. And then a little late pick, he got an outside linebacker. Nothing special physically, but he got him in the sixth round, and he's 68 overall. He's 21, and he's a star. His name is Christian Christie. Terrible name, but we'll see if he can do something with him. I don't know if he's playable yet, but something you might be able to build. And then he made a couple trades this offseason too. Nothing crazy. He got rid of Khalil Mack. He lost Austin Eckler. He didn't get much back. He got Alexander Madison and Zamir White, kind of running back by committee there. Some future draft picks, but nothing crazy. He did also trade out of the first round with AJ for a future first, kind of part of that future pick. So I think he's kind of kicking the can down the road just because of cap situation, and he had to lose some talent as a result.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. He's going to have to develop those guys that he's got in the draft, even if they are kind of the low overall, not necessarily the really good out the gate. Luckily, he's good at that, but that cap is going to be it's going to make that draft even more important, I think.
Yep.
All right, so then next up for me is the Patriots, and I thought this was one of the better off seasons um, in the league, or at least in the divisions that I was looking at. Bean adds Deshaun Watson, he adds Demario Davis and Levante David. He has Marcus May. These are all just free agents and trades. On top of that, he's now got 2 firsts in this upcoming draft, and then he got 3 superstar rookies. So he comes out with the draft. He gets Javante Anthony, who's a wide receiver, guy's 22 years old, superstar dev. He gets an outside linebacker, Archer, 21-year-old, superstar dev. And then down the line, he picks up a strong safety and Farr, another guy, 22 years old, superstar dev. So he's adding 3 young superstars to this roster, 2 firsts in the next draft. And then he's got a little bit of veteran depth in Davis and Levante David and Marcus May that are going to help that defense kind of win now. Other than Archer and Farr, though, the defense is getting a little bit older. So he's going to have to do something with those. But like I said, he's got those 2 first-round picks, and I think that's going to really help him kind of bolster that defense. And I really like what he did with his offseason. Getting Watson to me was huge. And then he just kind of added a good mix of veterans and youth.
Yeah, Pats fans been complaining about Bill Belichick as the GM for a while now. Bean takes over and completely revamps the team in one offseason. It was pretty impressive.
Yep. All
I,
right.
I'm moving. I'm moving to the Chiefs. Pretty good draft for Clinky down in Kansas City. Um, 2 picks in the first round to get Pat Mahomes some weapons, which is not what the rest of the AFC wants to see. But he did a good job. He got a tight end, Carlos Wynn, with the 25th pick, 77 overall, 89 speed. He'll be there for the foreseeable future. Dangerous weapon in the middle of the field. He also got a wide receiver, Chuck McKinney, the end of the first, pick 32, and he is already 75 overall. He's 21. He's a star. Not a burner necessarily to take advantage of the deep shots with Mahomes, but a solid wide receiver that he'll be able to develop. And then he got some depth in the secondary later in the draft. Third round, he got a free safety who's 72 overall and a star, and he got a corner who's 73 overall with 92 speed. In the sixth round, both those guys are 21. So a lot of developable talent for the Chiefs out of this draft. We'll see how Clinky builds them. He also signed Micah Hyde, just veteran skill in the back end of that defense, and he had a good first year, and he's looking to build on it, and I think he will.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Micah Hyde is slow enough that he can be a good user sub linebacker.
I
So
believe so.
that'll
Yep.
be a good one for him. I saw him in other leagues use Jordan Poyer and really do some damage with him. So adding Micah Hyde, I would watch out for Klink's user this year, and that defense is already one of the youngest in the league. So
Yep.
adding a couple more young pieces would be nice. All right, then I'm going to close out the AFC East with the Dolphins, who are sitting at 0-2. So it hasn't really translated to them or for them so far. He's 0-2. He's taken a forced loss in week 3, maybe week 4. So not a good start for Fins. He got the new QB, which is big. Dwyer's a 22-year-old star. Um, Problem is he's not doing so well so far. So it's a slow start. We'll see if he can get over that kind of rookie hump. He got another tight end, Kaplan. Guy's 76 overall, good speed. So he got him a weapon. Not like the Dolphins need more weapons with HN and Hill and then Ramsey, but he got another weapon for him. The secondary looks good on this team. Defense could use a little bit of help in the front. Um, and what he really needs, he just needs a left guard and a right tackle. But this Dolphins team is really good. The quarterback was kind of the question mark after last season. He got rid of Tua. He had Mike White, and then he kind of moved on from him. I think we all knew he was going to go for a quarterback. Then he gets the number 3 pick,
Hmm.
and it was pretty obvious. But all in all, not a bad offseason. Really, when you get your QB of the cycle, you can't really complain about the offseason. And now it's just a matter of getting used to him, getting used to this offense, and I think we'll see improvement from here out.
Yeah, great situation to develop a quarterback, as you mentioned, with the weapons. So
Yep.
I expect that turnaround soon. But there's always growing pains when you incorporate a new starter. And I'm going to close out the AFC West here with Gutta and the Raiders. He, looking at his draft, I didn't notice too many game changers, but he did get an O lineman who's 76 overall star development in the third round. So that's going to be a starter for the cycle. Always nice to get. And he brought Khalil Mack home, which I know is big for him. He's a real life Raiders fan, so getting Khalil Mack back in the black and silver, cool moment for him. I'm happy that he gets to play with them. He also traded a couple future mid round picks for corner Carlton Davis from Tampa. So a couple veterans on the defense for the Raiders. As you said, Good is looking better on the field. Nothing crazy this offseason, but it's his hometown team. He got a hometown hero back, um, and he'll have fun.
Yeah, I think that's big getting Khalil Mack. I haven't looked to see how his guys did last year, but you would think with Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson, he probably didn't need that edge rush. But like you said, favorite player probably, or at least for a while, that was probably his favorite player, and now he gets to bring him back to put him back in that Raiders uniform. So that'll be good, and he is playing better. I mean, we just saw he played Q and it went down to the wire. So we'll see how that pans out. But I've got for my next team moving to the AFC South, and I'm going to start with RD and the Texans. RD starting off 1-0. He drafted a faster running back to kind of pair with Pierce. I think Pierce a little bit on the slower side. This gives him kind of that thunder and lightning combination. He's got a speed guy to go with him. He picked up Rashad Bateman right before the draft. That'll give him another receiver, especially one with a little more speed. Um, and then the big thing we saw with him and RD, one of the guys you kind of know going into the offseason, there's certain guys looking for certain things. And when it comes to offensive line, RD really likes offensive line and his pass rushers or his front four, front seven. He adds Tyron Smith. He adds Clowney. He added Michael Pierce. The problem is he's got 3 left tackles over 88 overall. He's got Bakhtiari, Smith now, and he's got Tunsil. Those guys are eating up a lot of cap. I know it's the Texans, and you have cap, but you would think you'd want to spend it somewhere else. And he still has no linebackers outside of Harris, and that's really just if you're going to use him because he's not that highly rated. But he did pick up another rookie. Really, it was a pretty good rookie. He ended up only being star. This was the guy that I was looking at as well, and he got him well before I got there. But Spillman, he's a 22-year-old, 77 overall. He's only star. He was a linebacker, but he's converted him to a right end. So he gets his pass rusher. We'll see what he does though. He's a lot of cap being eaten up by those left tackles though.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue until Stroud needs his next
Yeah.
contract. So you have a couple year window to try to develop Stroud behind the solid O line and kind of go
Yeah,
from
and by
there.
that time you probably won't have but maybe one of those left tackles still in the league anyway.
Right. Um, all right, I'll stick in the AFC as well and go to the North. I'll start with the Bengals. Not too much talent needed on this team. Not a busy offseason in terms of free agent signings or trades for dump, but a couple of rookies that I want to shout out. Um, he spent his second round pick on the defensive end, DeMarcus Hitchens. He's 72 overall. He has star development, so we'll see if he's able to turn him into anything. His third round pick, he spent on a receiver. I know he released Tyler Boyd last year, but James Skillen, he's only 68 overall. No dev to speak of, but I have him on here because he has 94 speed, which can always be dangerous, especially when you have this long to develop him. And he got some O line depth. Try to keep Joe Burrow upright in the fourth round. Kevin McFarland, 74 overall. Going through this, there was a lot of good O linemen, and a lot of good tight ends in this draft, and a lot of teams kind of benefited in the middle of the draft, getting some O line to keep their quarterback healthy. But that's all for dump. Like I said, this team, you don't need to do much. They have talent everywhere. There's not a ton of cap room to work with.
Yeah.
Kind of just
A
build
lot
what
of
you
talent,
have. And
a lot of talent and they're young. I mean, he's got,
yeah,
already has the two superstars from the last draft class that are sitting there just waiting for playing time and now to just kind of backfill behind them with more young talent. All you got to do is not screw up that Bengals team.
exactly.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Colts. Super Bowl champs really did not do much in the offseason. He picked up Scotty Miller in a trade. We saw today or yesterday. He picked up Scotty Miller, so he adds a little bit of speed. Um, Anthony Richardson with that big arm, had more speed on that field with Marquise Brown is going to be good. Looked at his rookies; he didn't hit on any rookies. Really didn't see any good ones. Maybe one of the receivers who's a little slower, but he's a bigger guy. Maybe that works out. But really, he kind of missed on the rookies. He needs to get younger in the front seven. Those guys are getting old, especially Grover Stewart and what is it, DeForest Buckner. Those two guys really getting older, hitting the 30s. So we'll see if he does anything to kind of improve that situation. But the biggest thing that happened for the Colts was Anthony Richardson going to superstar. That's going to be big for his development. It's going to be big for getting him some abilities. Uh, he's only 22 years old, so he's going to develop fast, and hitting superstar that first season is going to be really big. And that I think was the biggest kind of offseason, even though it happened Super Bowl week. It was still the biggest offseason improvement for the Colts was just getting to that superstar level.
Yeah, probably a year ahead of schedule for Prime. I don't know that he expected to win year one, but he did. And I mean, yeah, he has the young talent where he wants it. He doesn't need much. He's a good team builder. Like you said, Richardson's going to be the focal point this whole cycle, probably.
Yep.
I'm moving on to the Browns. Not a lot here from NYT. He just couldn't do anything. They are so cap strapped. Had to lose Deshaun Watson for nothing. Lost Amari Cooper for nothing last year. Couple draft picks. He got an outside linebacker, Jerry Kennard, in the second round, who's 74 overall. Tried to get his quarterback in the third round, Rob Bowen. 96 throw power, so some raw talent there, but only 67 overall. Um, Tough division to be in to try to dev him. We'll see if he's able to, but like I said, the Browns just were not in a position to be able to do much this offseason.
Yeah, really, it feels like the Browns, with their cap situation in their roster, you you're basically your team building is just trying to find ways to get it to be manageable without destroying the team too much. So
Yep.
a little different from teams that have to build from the ground up. He's tearing down and trying to leave something in place. All right, I'm gonna move to the Jaguars. Uh, Jaguars new ownership, so that it moved from Faz to DW. Didn't really have much cap. He actually had to cut some guys to make room to re-sign Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley and Ruiz, the center. Um, but he did have a decent draft. So he got a what did he get? A superstar middle linebacker. Got 73 overall, 22 years old, and he got a normal dev corner. What was going into the draft based on the draft board was one of the top corners. He wasn't Sawyer good, but he was one of the next ones up. 21 years old, 77 overall, 93 speed. He starts out with 82 zone, so immediately playable. Unfortunately, he's just normal dev. Um, but the Jaguars didn't really make any moves other than the draft. Free agency was kind of a bust. Nothing really there. He couldn't really do anything because of the cap situation. Um, Faz didn't really do him any favors with some of the deals before he left, especially the Chandler Jones deal. We talked about Chandler Jones earlier with Fig signing him, but just not a real difference maker at his decreased age and or increased age and decreased ratings, and it kind of put DW behind the eight ball. But he got rid of him, and we'll see what he does going forward. He's 1-0, but not much in the offseason outside of the draft.
Yeah, tough to take over a team halfway through a season and
Yep.
with limited cap space to deal with. The Ravens are going to be my next team. Mike, he was busy, and I liked his offseason. I'm going to start in the draft. He nailed his top three picks. He got Emmanuel Gaddis at corner at 15, 98 speed, 78 overall, star development. Nothing more to say there. That's all you
Yeah.
need. He's going to be a stud for the rest of the cycle. So that's the back end of your defense. What do you want? What else do you want to do? You want to build the front line. He did that as well at pick 23. D tackle, Brandon Duncan, 76 overall, star development. Boom, another cycle long starter. And then on top of all that, in the second round, he adds a superstar left guard who's already 76 overall, another cycle long starter for Lamar Jackson, who's always going to be a dynamic weapon. And he made a couple trades. He got rid of Rashad Bateman to RD, but he picked up a first round pick, which turned into that D tackle Brandon Duncan, a seventh round pick, and a future second rounder. And he continued to add to his offensive line by trading for Rashawn Slater, a young left tackle who will last the cycle. And all he gave up was his backup tight end, the 24th pick, and some O line depth. So not bad. A lot of talent added here, both young and some vets, and a vet, Rashawn Slater. So the Ravens team got better. This division, like all these rosters, are pretty good. So it's going to be a fight, but I really like what Mike did.
Yeah, I mean the roster's coming along. We'll see what happens when Lamar Jackson's deal jumps up to 75 million. That's gonna hurt, but so far so good. Just gonna be a tough division to win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Titans next. 0-1 for two step. Really wasn't super excited about their offseason. He did have a good draft. He got a superstar left tackle, and then he got a superstar outside linebacker in Holloman. Guy's 21 years old, 76 overall, so he'll be able to develop really nice. Um, really, with his free agency where he added Dalton Schultz, who's an aging tight end, kind of slow, not really built for the way Madden plays this year. He added Willie Gay. Okay, he's got a decent linebacker there, and he added Sean Murphy Bunning, who actually I think immediately becomes his best corner. Those aren't bad, but the problem I have is Will Levis now has to be the answer. You picked at number 4 in a quarterback heavy draft, and you didn't take a quarterback, so Levis has to be the guy. And I'm not 100% sold on him being the guy. We've seen two step pretty much every year takes a quarterback, so little surprising he didn't take one here. And the wide receivers didn't get any better. He didn't add any help there for Levis to become the answer. He's got Hopkins, who's now a year older, and Treylon Burks.
Yeah.
Really would have expected to see maybe trade back, pick up more picks, and add to that offense. You've got Henry, who he's trying to shop, but it sounds like he wants a first for him, and I just don't think that's happening. At least not one near the top of the draft. And yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really excited about the Titans offseason despite picking number 4 overall. I thought they kind of ignored some of the needs.
Yeah, no, those are big needs. So those are definitely issues. It's going to be a rebuild in Tennessee that's going to be ongoing.
Yeah.
I'm so next I have Steelers, last team in the North. Steelers. Dan was busy this offseason. I don't know if you heard, but he took a wide
Oh,
receiver
yeah.
at pick 11 who is 21, superstar, and has 99 speed. He's called him the fastest player in SML history. So we'll see. Did not translate to a win week one, but definitely a weapon you want on your team. It's a great pick. The issue here is he didn't really solve quarterback. I know Dan doesn't feel like he needs stud quarterbacks the way he's won in the past, but he took Tyler Black in the second round, and I just don't see it with him. We'll see what Dan's able to get out of him, but I don't see it. He's 6'7" overall, nothing crazy on his physicals. Um, and then he was busy trading too. He had to trade his first round pick, which was the 30th pick of next year's pick, and Deontay Johnson to Bean to get that 11th pick to take Sutton. Seeing how Sutton turned out, I'd say that's definitely worth it. He traded a corner and a future third to the Panthers for Brandon Smith, middle linebacker that I assume he's going to use there. He has some decent speed. I think it was 88.
Yeah.
And then a couple draft pick trades. And then you mentioned it today. He traded Najee Harris for James Cook to get faster at running back. So it sounds like to me he's just going for an all speed offense right now. And we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he's going to do. This complete kind of 180 from what he normally does with the
Mm-hmm.
ground and pound short pass. Kind of just beat you into submission, and now he's trying to go the fig route. Basically, he's adding as much speed as he can, and we'll see if it pays off. Really interested to see what goes on in Pittsburgh. Obviously, week one, Dump beat him with Heineke and no Jamar Chase, so not a great start for that new look Steelers. All right. I'm gonna go now. We finished the AFC, so I'm gonna move to the NFC and start with the NFC East and the Giants. Um, this is another one that was kind of surprising. Um, he had a good draft, but he picked two defensive ends. He got Rivers, who's a 22-year-old star, starts 73 overall. Cheeks is a 21-year-old normal dev, 75 overall. He was one of the top rated ones in the draft board, and he turned out to be normal dev, but he is 75 and only 21. But my biggest surprise, he adds Kenneth Murray on defense in free agency, which was a nice pickup. I think he gets a good middle linebacker there, but it felt like everything was focused on defense and nothing on offense. He still doesn't have what I would consider a true number one wide receiver. He's got Slayton there, Hyatt, but nobody that I would consider like a number one guy that you can really plan on beating his man. And he's still got Daniel Jones there. Really, no other plan than we're just going to ride with Daniel Jones. I didn't think he added really any depth behind Saquon Barkley. I would have liked to see him get a little bit more on offense, but he started 2-0 so far this year, so can't really knock that. Maybe he's figuring if you can't play offense, just have a really good defense. But 2-0 to start the season, so whatever he did worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Good start. Hard to complain about the offseason at this point. Defense can win some games in this league for sure.
Yep.
All right. I'll move to the NFC West then. I'll start with the 49ers. Um, Biz was busy. No pun intended. Sorry, that came off worse than I wanted it to. But he basically made a bunch of draft pick trades to move up to 1-5 to take Luke Campbell at quarterback. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know how well this is going to turn out. He's 71 overall. He's already 23. 92 throw power, just normal dev. Nothing really stands out to me for him. And when you're not known for winning games here in the SML, I struggle to believe he's going to be devved correctly. So we'll see. We'll see what Biz is able to do down in the Bay Area. But if you're going to trade as much as he did to get up to that spot and kind of not have him be a surefire stud, that could have long-term ramifications. He did get a good offensive lineman in the third round who's starting off at 74 overall in star development. So that'll help keep the young quarterback with a clean pocket. He also traded for Ryan Jensen from the Bucks, a veteran center. So clearly a focus on the offensive line here. And a couple other veterans, Tyler Boyd, kind of a security blanket at wide receiver. Adds another weapon to this explosive offense. And Terrell Edmonds in the back end of the secondary was another free agent signing.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The big thing for his offseason was just absolutely whiffing on that quarterback, to the point where he got pulled in the first game. He had him playing against Coop,
Mm-hmm.
and with the game on the line, he pulled him out and put Brock Purdy in. So no confidence in that quarterback. And like you said, 23 years old, normal dev, nothing stands out. Um, it's essentially a bust. I mean, maybe he could do something, but he's not exactly known for winning, like you said. So I don't see him getting too much better. All right.
That
So
could be a tough situation.
next up for me, I've got the Cowboys, and Cowboys did basically nothing this offseason because Meats got married, which depending on how you look at it, could be an L for the offseason. Um, but he's going to start Trey Lance at quarterback. I guess that's kind of the big news in Dallas is Dak Prescott's gone. Now it's all on Trey Lance. And you talk about an older, I say older, he's going to be I think 24 or 23, but we'll call him older for Madden purposes. An older quarterback in Trey Lance that's going to start normal dev. Um, I don't know what his plan is going to be at quarterback if Trey Lance is going to be the answer, but um, he had no picks, did nothing in free agency, and Trey Lance is going to start at quarterback. So you got to think Dallas just took a step backwards.
Yep. Loses Dak for nothing. Congratulations to me, Stone, getting married. I'm sure that was your higher focus
Yeah.
this time. Um, all right. I'm going to move on to the Cardinals. And Monty had a busy offseason and pretty good draft. I have a lot of names here. Um, his first round pick, an X Factor outside linebacker with 82 finesse moves, Jerry Mann. He kept going defense in the second round, adding D tackle Deontay Craig and outside linebacker Braylon Jeffries. Both are star development. And Deontay Craig, the D tackle, is already a 77 overall. He added two offensive line pieces, left a tackle and a guard in the third round. Both started at 73 overall. And then in the seventh round, just for good measure, 70 overall star dev running back, who, if you wanted to spend the time to develop, he could, Orlando McClain. He traded a lot of current picks for future picks, and he also brought in Austin Eckler, who was one of the coveted free agents on the market. Like I said, GP had to lose him due to cap reasons, and Monty was the beneficiary. So just a big influx of talent here for the Cardinals, and a pretty good draft by all accounts.
Yeah, looks like what he's doing so far is really good. And if I remember right, he's got 4 first round picks in this upcoming draft, and a handful of seconds as well. So
Yes, yep.
um,
He added two future firsts in this offseason just by trading current firsts. Um, so yeah, just a boatload of picks coming up too.
yeah, he should be able to do something with that roster. All right, so next up, I've got the Eagles. Uh, Eagles already an absolutely loaded team, and next season they're gonna have 3 seconds in the draft. He moved on from Quez Watkins, and he replaces him with Duvernay and 94 speed. So really no loss there. Um, the biggest the biggest loss for him is that Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson both came back. Um, I'm sure he was probably kind of hoping a little bit of that cap would open up, and they both came back, so they're gonna eat up a little bit of that cap. The secondary, I guess, if you could find a weakness on this Eagles team or somewhere where they need help, the secondary is getting a little older. You got Slay there, you've got Bradbury. They're both a little older, but Bradbury, of course, goes superstar, so he gets better even though he's older. And he drafted a receiver, 21 years old, 77 overall, name's Kent. And I mean, if the Eagles didn't have enough weapons on offense, now they've got one more that should develop nicely. We'll see if maybe he lets one of those receivers go. And I can't imagine AJ Brown or Devontae Smith walk, but this gives him at least 4 really good receivers. So we'll see what he does there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, loaded roster, especially with those guys coming back. Your roster stays really good, but less flexibility.
Yep.
All right, I'm moving on to the Rams, the reigning NFC champion, Straw Blacks, and he kind of nailed his offseason, in my opinion, too. He added a lot of depth in this draft. He added two corners, one with his first pick, Dave Adams, who's 76 overall in star development, And then in the fourth round, he added Greg Tapp, who's 70 overall with star development. So that's two young corners he can develop if he wants to. He added a defensive end in the early second round in a trade with me, actually. He traded up to the sixth pick in the second round, gave me his future first. And the guy he took there was 75 overall. It was superstar development. So no regrets on my side. I'm definitely not wondering what could have been with that pick. And then Zach Tomlinson, tight end, was his late second round pick. He's superstar development, 86 speed, 74 overall. So those four guys alone would make a really good draft class. And then he added depth. He got Gerard Pete, quarterback, who I think he's starting, 69 overall star development. That's fifth round. And then two undrafted guys. He got a superstar kicker with 98 kick power and a star wide receiver who's 68 overall with 91 speed. So he's fast enough. And he also added Odell Beckham Jr. So, yeah, a couple of receivers, tight end, secondary help, pass rush, quarterback, you name it. I mean, all the important things he nailed. He really turned one of the worst rosters. He brought it to a Super Bowl in year one and added a ton of talent after the fact. So things are definitely really bright out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, really set that team up for the future, and obviously had already arrived because he had that Super Bowl appearance to start. So let's see if he has any growing pains with that rookie quarterback. But coming off Stetson Bennett, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go to Washington and the Commanders, the 0-2 Commanders, and Colt. Really, that team is pretty good to start. The big question mark is your quarterback, and so he ended up first round. He gets a quarterback, Joseph Short, 21-year-old star, 74 overall, not too bad. I think he's already thrown like almost 80 pass attempts in 2 games. Really getting some work in, maybe trying to get to that superstar development. I don't know. Lot of pass attempts. His free agent pickups, I liked the Gerald Everett pickup, other than he has Gesicki, who he traded for, who's a superstar. And then Aaron Jones, he picks up a superstar running back, but he's got, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson there. So I didn't really feel like those were big needs, but he did, at least with Jones, he improved. So I'll be interested to see what he does. Right now, sitting at 0-2, but outside of the Giants, no one in the NFC East has a win anyway. Cowboys, Eagles, and Commanders all 0-2. So really, he's only 2 games back from the lead. So not really an exciting offseason there, other than he got his quarterback, and that seems to be about it.
Yeah, the quarterback's all that matters. So, all right, my last team in the NFC West is Matt, who was busy becoming a millionaire in Vegas. So not a lot trade or free agency wise, but his computer did a very good job of drafting. They got him a defensive end, Carl Kelly, in the first round, 75 overall. Two middle linebackers in the second and third round. Both are star development. Both are 87 or higher speed. A guard, 73 overall in the third round. And then another tight end. I've said a few tight ends already today. And Forrest Woods in the fourth round, 74 overall star. So some young talent for Matt to build around. He still doesn't have a long-term answer at quarterback, but Geno Smith's going to be just fine for another year, and he'll be able to figure that out once he's able to kind of run his own offseason. But if you're going to miss a whole offseason, it could be a lot worse than the draft haul that his computer got him.
Yeah, computer did a really good job. One thing I noticed, and going forward, I probably won't set a favorites list if I'm going to miss a draft, because normally I'll let the computer just pick when I'm out of favorites and I'm at the end, and you'll see I did really good this draft with it. But in Primer, I set my favorites, and it just went right down the list picking them, and it did not work out well. So Matt, really fortunate the computer did a good job there. All right.
Interesting. Okay.
Next team I've got is the Panthers, moving to the NFC South, and the Panthers sitting at 0-2. So Noel thought he had it kind of straightened out at the end of last season, and now he's back to winless. But really, no big additions. He did get his backfield got better with the draft though. He got a rookie Roth, 22-year-old star, and then a fullback he drafted, 22 years old, superstar fullback. You don't see a ton of superstar fullbacks, so we'll see how he's going to use him.
Yeah.
Um, what I was surprised though was really again somebody that kind of ignored their needs. I felt like that Panthers roster needed some wide receiver help for Young. I know you have Mingo there, you have Shark, you have Adam Thielen. I just don't think any of those guys are going to be really a true number one. And he kind of, I know he didn't have his first round pick, but he didn't really address that wide receiver, uh, getting any wide receiver help for him. He didn't get one of these tight ends that we've seen a bunch of really good tight ends came off the board. Um, so we'll see. The offense could have used some help, and I don't think replacing Miles Sanders was necessarily the biggest priority. All right, you have a next team.
Sorry, I think I
Uh,
lost you for a second, but
oh,
I'm back.
okay.
Yeah, I'm moving to the NFC North. I'm on I'm going with you, the Bears. Um, yeah, your drafts worked out pretty well. You just said it. You got two X factors. One in the first round, D tackle Devontae Gaither, 77 overall already. X factor. He's going to be a beast. Monsters of the Midway could be on their way back. And Stanley Green, the middle linebacker in the sixth round, who's an X factor, is going to be a piece of that too. He's only 68 overall. He's not super quick, but you're going to find a role and develop him. I have no doubt about that. Tight end was your second pick in the first round, and 90 speed at tight end, 75 overall as rookie. That's dangerous. That's just you get him matched up on linebackers and safeties, and that speed and his ability. It's going to be tough to defend. And he also had a 6'5" star wide receiver in the third round with 91 speed. So that's just another weapon for newly X Factor Justin Fields. Um, you also saw your biggest free agent signing was actually a kicker, and I just want to mention it. You got Dicker the kicker, 99 kick power. Um, I love 99 kick power. Will Lutz just kicked a 66-yarder for me to win. So that'll be a big piece, and it'll definitely get you some points in situations where you may not have been able to get points previously. And you have KJ's first this year, so that's going to be probably a pretty solid asset on top of all the talent you already added and developed Fields with the X Factor. So good offseason in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm excited. The two rookies, you talked about the tight end with 90 speed, already had two touchdowns, including one that was like 50 yards. And then that sort of slow middle linebacker X Factor got a user pick, and his X Factor is actually Avalanche. So I'm excited to see how that works. Apparently, it causes a fumble if you get a hit stick. So we'll see how that does. All right, next team up I've got is the Falcons. So talking about quarterbacks going to X Factor, that was a big thing for the Falcons. As Ritter goes to X Factor, he got the superstar bump last offseason. Now he gets him to X Factor with Bazooka. I think that'll be really big. I mean, the Falcons, the biggest question mark going into the team draft was what do you do with the quarterback, and immediately going from star to superstar to X Factor over the course of one season. That's pretty big. He added John Franklin Myers from the Jets. So he adds him to the D line, and he adds Bobby Wagner. So we saw the Seahawks and Matt let Bobby Wagner go. Falcons scoop him up. Defense is getting a little old, so they're going to need to get a little younger. He went out and he got a 6'4" star receiver who's 22 years old, 6'5". I think he's the brother of my receiver, both named Sims. This one, Star Dev, I think mine's 23 maybe. His is 22, so maybe the younger brother, but gets another big target to go with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And so the offense, I think, gets significantly better with the addition of the receiver and the upgrade of Ritter. And then we'll see about the defense. They've gotten a little older, but they should be good for at least a couple years.
Yeah, just what he needed and just what I needed to defend. Another
Yeah.
tall
Yep.
weapon on the outside. So, all right, I'm going to Paulie and the Lions. He signed Jonah Williams in free agency, give him some O line depth there, but the draft was pretty good as well. He had the 16th pick. He took a defensive end, Miles Rayford. He's 74 overall, star development. In the second round, he got a tight end, So another tight end here, 77 overall, star, 88 speed. So just another really good weapon. Again, a mismatch against linebackers. So third round, he added two defensive backs that will probably be a high priority to develop. He added a safety, Randy Beal, who's 75 overall, and a corner, Hugh Oliver, who's 73 overall. So double talent back there, and this Lions team's still young, still easy to develop, and he just added some more young talent and an offensive lineman, which never hurts.
Yeah, it was funny because in the draft, he picked right before me at 16, and I thought for sure he was going to take Gaither. I'd wanted that guy since the beginning. If I kept pick 10, that's who the pick was going to be. Um, and he was still on the board when it was coming up, and Paulie gets on the board, and I thought for sure it was going to be Gaither, but he took that defensive end. I couldn't have been happier. But then when I went to pick my tight end, I was between mine and the guy that Paulie got, and I think he got a really good guy in that tight end.
Yeah,
He's got, like you said, star dev, 88 speed, so only slightly slower. I think that one's going to be a good one. He's only 21 years old too, so really good draft
yeah,
for
both are
Paulie.
studs. Yeah,
All right, next up, I've got the Bucks and Gilbert, and I don't know if anybody knows exactly what Gilbert's doing. To include Gilbert, we've seen him make trades that he had to have walked back because it would have put him like 30 million under the cap. So he's working on fixing the cap. Um, he did have a really good draft though. He got multiple offensive linemen that are going to start and look pretty good. He got a 21-year-old receiver that's 6'3", 75 overall. So just another weapon on offense. And then the biggest addition though was his quarterback. He got Richards, 22-year-old star. Should be his quarterback for the cycle. We'll see what he does in the future drafts, but uh, that was the big question mark for them, is locking down the quarterback position. And now he's just got to get that cap under control, which I think Dan's kind of helping him, and we'll see if he can do that. But a pretty good draft for the Bucks. Not much else they could do in the offseason because of the cap situation, though.
yep. Another team where quarterback's biggest need,
Yep.
and he solved that. It seems like so successful. Going up to Green Bay, the Cheeseheads, Coop. He's the number one pick. I want to say he earned it, but I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that correctly. But we're gonna give him an A on that pick. Alex Sawyer, the corner, just a stud, 80 overall, 95 speed. If you wanted to nitpick, you could say, oh, he's only star dev, but that shouldn't matter. He'll be fine. And with the way training works now, he could be primed to get a dev bump sooner rather than later. He in the third round, he added a right guard who's 77 overall and a star, and he also added a left tackle who's 71 overall, but he's actually superstar. And he also signed Isaiah Wynn in free agency. So that's three offensive linemen that should help the Packers. And then fourth round, he got a starting safety. He got 75 overall, strong safety who'd start development. And he signed Emmanuel Agba in free agency as well to add some depth to the defense. So for my math, that's three starting alignment and probably three starters on defense. So definitely improving the Packers. He's stuck with Jordan Love, and we'll see how that works out. And I'm sure he's hoping he's not picking at one again.
Yeah, I think he got what he wanted at one, and now we'll see how he does the rest of the way. He did just lose to Biz in week one, so battle of the bottom there. All right, my last team is obviously it's your team, 2-0, so a good start to the season. Um, I thought probably your biggest addition, and you'll be better able to speak to this than I am, but Brees or Breesy, however you say that, to superstar. I thought that's big. A defensive tackle, tough one to develop, and to get a superstar that young is a good one because he's going to be good for the cycle. And then you have 2 firsts and 2 second in this upcoming draft. So I thought adding assets to the future. I know you have some cap issues you had to work through there, getting rid of some older players. Cam Jordan sticking around really kind of screwed up your plans, I think. And but you got a superstar right guard. I thought that was a really good addition in the draft. Unfortunately, that was the only superstar. But I was kind of surprised that you didn't upgrade at quarterback or even the halfback position. I know you've got, I think it's Miller there at halfback. I would have thought you'd maybe upgrade, but this wasn't really a great draft for that anyway, I don't think. So um, I think this was a good offseason for you, but I think it was more pushing it down to the to next offseason, kind of kicking that can down the road.
Yeah, so Barisi actually got the superstar early last year, but he stayed hidden
Okay.
the whole year. Um, that was a training bump. But we had, yeah, running back Kendra Miller's the plan. I'm not really planning to move off of him unless I feel I need to. Um, and quarterback, we didn't have the capital
Yeah.
to upgrade there. So we'll see what the plan is
Well, you did get
after
Mac
this
Miller
year. But
or Mac Jones.
yeah, that's kind of a safety net. I know
Yeah.
I free 50 million this offseason by releasing Carr, so I think it's safe to say this will be his last year as a Saint. And I didn't want to be in a position where I had nothing on my roster. So I signed Mac for a couple of years. I'll at least have him as an option if I'm unable to find a different avenue.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is
Um,
you've got one team left, right?
I
Okay.
do. Yep. AJ, the Vikings, um, Jerron Best, D tackle, superstar, 77 overall. Good pick there. Speaking of running backs in the draft, he probably got the best one. Byron Silvers in the second round, 75 overall star. Another O lineman, right tackle, 72 star in the second round as well. He got rid of Christian Darrisaw actually for that pick. So kind of a downgrade. You're going from like I think Darrisaw's 89 to a 72 overall, but I know it saves him some money. And he's thankful Kirk Cousins retired. Speaking of quarterbacks who make a lot of money, because that gave him some flexibility. He replaced him with Baker Mayfield in free agency, kind of a stopgap option. And yeah, he picked up the 27th pick from UP for Alexander Madison, and he gave up his first round pick this upcoming year. So that's kind of his off season. I'm expecting him to improve from last year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what AJ does. I'm hoping he doesn't improve too much. But I play him tonight, so we'll see what the Baker Mayfield led offense looks like. Um, but yeah, getting the quarterback had to be a priority, and I think he's still going to need one though. I don't know if Baker's the
Yep.
guy for the cycle, but um,
No, I don't think
at least
so.
he did something. He wasn't expecting that Kirk retirement. But all right, well that's been 2 minute drill, and we knocked it out just shy of an hour, so not bad. I don't think we went over on any teams. So
Yeah,
uh,
and don't be mad at us if we got something wrong.
yeah,
Like I said, neon reset, so the free agent signings were a lot harder than normal to kind of go through. But it's always fun to like reassess the off season, and I hope this show helps people like kind of keep up with what happened.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how teams do, whether they improve or they regress after this offseason. Um, especially teams like the Steelers making big changes as far as his scheme and how he's going to run his offense. So be interesting to see if he goes from where he was
Yeah,
last year
complete 180 there.
to better or takes a step back. But all right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you after next offseason.